New CEO destroyed the company. We had an activist investor, board member who wasn't happy with our profits and growth. So he had our CEO replaced with his handpicked protege. From day one the guy was a shish 1T show. He would yell at people and talk to them like they were idiots in front of others. He spent millions on outside consultants, instead of listening to the people who have worked here for 10 years. He systematically laid off anyone who challenged him to make way for his people. Only problem was his people were useless. After only a year in his job, our Q2 earnings from this year were the worst they'd ever been. And our money in the bank was nearly depleted. So there was no path left but to sell for 10% what the company was worth when he took the job. Now half of us will get let go by the new ownership. These rich execs don't actually know anything about running a business. We're just toys to keep them occupied. I have been with this company since it was a 20-person startup. Watching everything I worked so hard to build fall apart in a year is frustrating and devastating. I cannot begin to tell you how many angel investors that I have been involved with that turned into demon investors. I call them the Onahit wonders who somehow got successful in a business enterprise giving them the money, but not the brains to be a quality investor. Just because you sold a successful screw machine business does not mean that you have any clue as to how to grow a mobile app company. E.g., and don't get me going on the VCs, vulture capitalists, as they are often worse. This was a backroom deal between your activist investor and one of their buddies to decimate, literally, the value of your company so it could be purchased by the outsider at a 90% discount. It happens all the time. And yes, we are all just playthings for the rich. Yay capitalism. This was probably the plan. Those consultants were buddies of the investor and CEO, as are the new owners, who will offshore some labor or hire newer people at lower salaries. Or they own a rival company and got your company out of their way. If this is a publicly traded company, the new management will have been installed by a hedge fund. The shares in the company will have been shorted. Hedge fund makes millions. You get screwed. They actually do know what they're doing. Something everyone needs to know. CSuite are literally a deck of cards. They change roles with snap of fingers and just get shuffled around with golden parachutes. It should be illegal. This happened at the last company I worked for. But instead of the CEO being replaced, he was an useful idiot for the investors. All the C-suite, except his wife, was a revolving door of recommendations from VC's new CTO came in, I left, and company burnt to the ground. Sounds like my company. CEO brought his old pal on board and placed him over my boss, who basically built the company over a decade. My boss eventually gave up putting up with his BS and left. Within a few weeks a lot of others followed. After years of success and year-over-year growth, it only took him a few months to run the company all the way into the ground, to the brink of collapse. The CEO still stands by him, of course. Being a friend of the old boss and standing up to him on behalf of my team put me on the hit list. And they laid me off. Needless to say, broken promises on team pay, etc. did not help our relationship. Haha. I'm the only person who does this type of work at the company. So despite the situation, I was caught off guard that I was laid off. Of course, no one reached out to me to do a handoff before I left. Lol. We will see how that goes. Honestly, it's crazy to think about. I don't mean to make light of a layoff at all. Believe me, I've been there before when I had no money and bills and commitments to make. It was scary. I remember those past calls, seeing HR, heart racing out of fear, anger, sadness, etc. This time my heart started racing when I saw HR on the call. But out of sheer happiness, I had to hide my smile. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. He has made the place and the daily grind into such a chaotic and toxic environment that I am just relieved to be getting out of there one way or the other. He probably thinks he has hurt me, but honestly no money is worth the way he treats people. He honestly did me a favor. Again, not trying to make light of a layoff. I'm very fortunate to have money saved up to get by for a few months, which takes off the pressure. But my mental and physical health literally have improved drastically since I got the word. Another reason for people that don't do any real work to not have any real work. More often than not it goes like this. Oh, you're a CEO? Here's your Fisher-Price phone. Now go talk to Elmo while the adults work. I'm not saying all C staff are invaluable, but proof is to those who've forged themselves in the fires they throw others into. I have heard this story so many times over. There is a company in my neck of the woods that was in business for decades. Did good work. They got investors, and one of the board members was a complete a-hole and thought he knew better. He ran the founder out as well as most of the people the founder hired. He brought in a new CEO who does not know anything about the business, who in turn hired execs who also had zero experience in their industry. Flash forward. What was a small but respected company is now a joke. They have lost most of their customers and are embroiled in multiple lawsuits. Of course, the a-hole board member cannot admit his mistakes, so the company just languishes on until it runs out of money. Consultants are such a waste of money. All they do is talk to the employees and then tell management what the employees said. Suddenly it's a great idea. The sooner you learn this lesson, the better your career will be. It's called a corporate raid. It will be pre-packed and restarted under a new entity or the IP sold. You help build it up, but unless you have shares it was just a job and you are a replaceable peasant. After only a year in his job, our Q2 earnings from this year were the worst they'd ever been. And our money in the bank was nearly depleted. So there was no path left but to sell for 10% what the company was worth when he took the job. The dude probably finished off just fine, with plenty of money in the bank and a bonus even. That is how these things usually go. The company was destroyed on purpose. They're actually compensated for destroying companies because they profit off their bankruptcy. It's called a bust-out scheme and is fairly common practice among consultancy agencies. BCG, for instance, is notorious for it. The board member brought in a CEO specifically to run up debt and kill the actual business, so someone I'm willing to bet they have ties to can buy up the assets for a fraction of its value. This is sadly a very common practice. Was it Boston Consulting Group? This was probably by design. The activist investor is a plant for a rival that wants to buy the company cheap. It's a common tactic, and well documented. Amazon is notorious for it specifically. If he was that bad and not replaced quickly, he was put in that position to tank the business. So a particular individual could pick it up for a song, most likely that insistent investor. He or his friends are just about to buy your business for pennies on the dollar. As soon as it is bought, everything could return to normal, unless they sell off the assets, but they may have gained control to run it rather than just kill it.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.